Good evening and welcome to Live United. Today we're joined by Peg Monahan from the Keene Senior Center. And before I actually jump into introducing Peg, I just want to note that we're also part of making history here today because this is the last time that this show will be taped with this particular camera. So we're very excited that we're again part of history making here in the Monadnock region. The United Way likes to be involved with that, and we certainly love working with organizations who have been a long part of the historical process of creating well-being in the Monadnock region. So today I'm joined by Peg Monahan. Peg is the Executive Director of the Keene Senior Center. So welcome, Peg.
Thank you.
Thanks for being with us.
Pleased to be here.
Serving a critical role in the Monadnock region for our senior citizens, but I think you even go beyond the senior population sometimes a little bit. So talk to us about what the Keene Senior Center does and how it involves people of all ages from the Monadnock region.
Well, first of all, our senior population, our recruiting, our membership started at age 50, which is a little bit younger than the traditional senior center image or the senior center population. But what we do is that we provide an opportunity, a place, and programming for people who are interested in the most significant of senior issues, social interaction, fitness, getting financial information, and educational information. And they are, those sort of umbrella programs are where we fit the ongoing activities that we do and also the special events that we do.
So let me back up a little bit because I'm curious, why did the Keene Senior Center start? Like, who brought that about? What was the need that was out there?
I hope I get the name right. I believe the founding person was Frank Glasser. He was a teacher. He lived up in Antrim, and he started the organization as a place for seniors to get together and do things, for whatever that might mean. And in 1957, no such place existed, really. There probably was the YMCA back then, and of course there were churches, but there were special places for people who were older, and I'm sure that was the original thinking. In 1962, the Kingsbury family donated the building on Court Street that we're in now, 70 Court Street, and during the 70s, they put on a huge addition. In about 2000, they expanded their parking lot. It's all been about using that facility and expanding it and keeping it updated and maintained.
So that's an old building that you have over there.
According to the city records, 1840 for the oldest section. It was the family home and the office for Dr. Almquist, and he was one of the original founders of the Keene Clinic. And his daughter just recently came by, which was really kind of exciting because she recognized a lot of the building features that are still the same, even little knickknacks that go back to her family, which I just had no idea about. So it was really interesting that the family's still around and they are still interested in the building and what happens here.
A rich history and a long history. You know, when you think back, if it was 1957, you know, we're talking 57 years of needs of seniors being met.
Right. And they've taken lots and lots of different forms. I mean, I'm told that there were weekly dances where they had live bands. We're not there. But we do have, we certainly have weekly singing because we have the Keene Senior Swingers, which are our music group, and they meet every week, and they produce concerts, and they go to nursing homes, and they go to veterans facilities. They are very, very active, very really terrific group.
So let's roll forward to,
Yeah.
we're here in 2014. I'm sure there's been a lot of changes over time.
Right.
Probably the dances were a big part of addressing that social isolation at the time for
Absolutely.
folks. But, people's needs have changed, I'm sure. And so what are some of the services that you're providing that really address some of what we see happening for our senior population?
Well, let me tell you, just this morning, from about 8:30 this morning to when I came in at 10 o'clock, we had two new members come in the door that had seen our sponsored ad in the newspaper. We had a artist come in and a senior who is Bob Seaman, who is actually an extraordinary artist, come in and move some of his artwork around. The firemen came in to do their annual inspection of the building. An archivist and another person went looking at our old photographs and thought that perhaps we ought to start doing work to preserve them. And we had our coffee and conversation group that happened between 9 and 11 or so. And we had a fitness class that we had about 25 people participate in. And that was just this morning. So there's a lot of different things that happen in a variety of ways. Oh, we also had a student come in who is starting her work. She's from the SMART program at Monadnock Regional High School, and she's going to be a receptionist for us. And right now she's learning the job, obviously, but she's a student who is in an alternative high school program.
And, I started the top of the show by saying you're serving really a variety of ages there.
That's right.
And part of the reason I mentioned that was because I know you have a volunteer base, you have young people who are coming in and gaining job skills, whether
Right.
it's through internships at Keene State, Monadnock Regional High School, some of the different programs that exist out there. So you go way above and beyond that senior population in serving needs of the Monadnock region, because really it sounds like you're contributing to the whole health and well-being of our citizens and in our communities.
Well, I've been doing nonprofit work since 1990. And from that early time, I have always used the student population to expand not only their skills, but also expand the work of whatever agency that I work with. The history is, and the activities are rich. I mean, we can have graduate students that come in that observe a particular group to get some insight as to what's going on in that group. Or we can have high school students who are learning some most basic skills. You're absolutely right. And if we don't use those skills of those students and others in the community, we're really doing ourselves a huge disservice. I mean, it's a potential there for such an enriched environment that it only makes sense that we do it.
Yeah. So you have that population, and we're serving them, but most importantly, there's, studies have shown that there's some real issues attached to things like social isolation and not maintaining nutrition and fitness and that well-being of the individual, particularly as they get into their senior years. That it can contribute to long-term health issues for them if they feel socially isolated. It can lead to things that we probably don't even expect to see. So let's talk a little bit about what some of the issues are that you feel like you address through the programs that you offer at the Senior Center.
Okay. I would say that probably on a daily basis, somebody makes a comment to me about how sad they are or uncomfortable with eating alone. It seems like such a small issue, but it's huge. People who are isolated in a small apartment or in their own home where they have a whole lot of things to take care of, often don't eat well. They really don't. They have a dish of cereal for supper, and they do it in front of the television set. They're not having that social interaction that they really need to have to stave off very debilitating effects of isolation. That's probably not the issue of eating alone, but the idea of staving off those the psychological and physical effects of being alone, looking at life issues alone, saying, okay, I'm taking care of my husband now who has Alzheimer's, and what am I going to do? Who's going to take care of me? There's all kinds of those issues. I probably also have in my office, probably on a weekly basis, somebody talking about how sad it is to be a widow. 70% of our members are women. Probably about 60% of them are widows. The men make up about 30% of our population, but they are not. But that's not an unusual ratio for this age bracket. Our average member is 79 years old, but they are not. They're not ready for the nursing home. You know, the senior center is not a nursing home. It's full of very active, very vibrant seniors.
And I think that's an important message for the community to hear, that it's a place where people come because they are active, they want to be involved, they want to be connected and socialize with people, and not just socialize. I think they lots of times want to be contributing, because I know some of the programs that you do actually give back to the community as well. You know, whether it's your singing group going out and performing for the community, or some of the other activities you do. You mentioned that you help people economically as well, and I know you provide a tax service.
Right.
And we're right in the heart of tax season,
Oh, yeah.
so tell us a little bit about what's happening there.
Well, AARP Foundation, the AARP Foundation provides volunteers to work with people to help them file their income taxes. And they do this at the senior center. It's on Monday afternoons from from the end of January to this year, April 14th. There's a steady stream of people that come through. It's a free service. We provide the site, we provide the internet connections, the facilities to make this happen. We also try to get speakers in to come in and talk about estate planning, Medicare, Medicaid for elderly people. What are you going to need to have in place before you look at nursing home care? There's a whole lot of very significant financial issues that have to be dealt with in senior years.
And confusing.
And confusing, yes. Yes, try to figure out supplemental care. You know, it's a very confusing, it's a very competitive market, it's very confusing. You think there'd be only one program, but there's a zillion of them. Yeah.
And we know from some of the recent data that's been collected here in the Monadnock region that we're an aging population here in the Monadnock region. So those kinds of services become even more vital as folks do move into that aging category. Can you share with us what some of you're serving a need out there? People can come in from outside of Keene, or is it?
Oh yeah, absolutely, the Monadnock region. And we do draw people from a pretty wide area. Probably about 50% come from Keene, but you know, we get them coming in from Stoddard and Chesterfield and Dublin, and yeah, it's a good reach. I think people will, if they live far out of town, they'll often come to Keene to do their grocery shopping and go to the senior center, or do a combination of things. Because transportation is a huge issue for people that live outside the area, outside of Keene, the Keene borders. Yeah.
And to be able to come in and actually utilize the
Yeah.
facility.
Yeah.
Do you have any organizational needs? I know I've seen you have a clothing rack outside.
Right.
Do you need donations of clothing? Do you need volunteers? Any specific things you need from the community?
We probably have one of the least known thrift stores in the region that I'm trying to get. I'm trying to get it to have more notoriety. We take clothing in and small household items. We have the thrift store. It's actually a building that's in the parking lot of the senior center. It used to be a garage, so it's not a very big building. But we have clothing for men and women, a few things for children, small household items, lots of puzzles, lots of books, just a big variety of things. We're very picky about what we take, and what we don't use, we donate to the Big Brother Big Sister Foundation.
Very nice, very nice. Like to see that collaboration there
Yeah.
too, and good recycling going on. Talk about, think about a person that maybe is a user of the senior center. How does it impact them coming in to the center and having that connection to people and being able to maybe attend a fitness class? What kind of impact do you have?
Well, we know from our research that the people who have the most need and the senior center affects the most are the poorest of the elderly, those that make less than $25,000 a year, including their Social Security investments, et cetera, et cetera. And people who are the oldest, the 80-year-olds. Those, and not to say the others aren't impacted, but those are the most impacted the most strongly. For the poorest, our membership fee is very low, and they can come and do activities all week long for $40 a year. So it's a bargain. For the oldest, it is a place where they can feel comfortable with their peers, doing activities that are right for them, and there aren't a whole lot of other places in town where they can do that. Yes, they can go to a restaurant and have a cup of coffee with a friend, but you go and sit for a couple of 3 hours and chat and do whatever you like. It's exceptional, and it's unique in that in our services.
Do you feel like there's anything that you foresee coming up in the future here that will be important for the senior center to be thinking about? So we just talked about that there's an aging population out there. What do you see as some of the potential needs in the future as we move forward with serving that aging population?
Yeah. That age and the aging population is a huge issue, and it's going to be not just affect the seniors. Who it really is going to affect are the rest of the population, who is going to be working to support all that the seniors need, and that's going to have a big impact on everyone. Absolutely everyone. And so the more we can do to keep people out of hospitals, to keep people out of long-term care, the better off the entire population is going to be. As far as the specific needs of the center, we are programming ourselves out of our space. And I don't quite know how that's going to get resolved yet. But we have 21 parking spots and some passes for some parking on the street, and we are full most days. Late Friday afternoon, it kind of slows down. But we have several rooms where we do activities, And if people call me today and say, I want to come in and I'd like to do a presentation about Medicaid, then I would be hard-pressed to find a room to put them in. As a matter of fact, we're starting to use one of our basement rooms, which is not such a hot room, but it's like it's the only space available to put people. And it's not because we're such a small building, because we have 11,000 square feet, which is huge, but we need to have area space that is appropriate for what we're doing.
And I would guess probably accessible, because
Yeah, oh yeah.
it's probably a little more challenging for some of the population,
Yeah.
especially when you get into the, very senior years.
Yes, we have a covered ramp that goes up and down from the parking lot. So it goes down to the basement, which is fitness rooms and the arts and crafts room, and it goes upstairs to the first floor. So we have that. We have a set of very steep steps going into the building, but the building upkeep itself is huge. $42,000 last year just to be in the building. 13,000 in heating bills this winter. It's a big building and it's served very, very well, but we really got to start thinking about how we're going to make it last and be right for the future.
Do you foresee that there could be a move to another location, or is it really to upgrade that building
It's
potentially?
too early to tell, really. We've done a lot of work to analyze what we have, and we've done a lot of work to analyze what's out there, but it's really too early to say for sure. But we're going to have to find a way to get people accommodated and with the programming variety that they need to have.
I think it's going to become an interesting dilemma for communities across the country, because we expanded school systems in response to a growing youth population. We now have a decrease beginning to happen in the youth population, an increase happening in the senior population. So we're almost reversing that need now for the facilities for folks.
Right.
So it'll be an interesting dilemma.
It is. The decreasing school population, increasing senior population. I'm like the living example. I was born in 1947. So when I was in elementary school, there were 30 and 40 kids in classrooms, which was absolutely crazy when you think about it today. And then here I am, I did retire once, but I'll retire again someday. Looking at this senior surge of population, it's very interesting dilemmas. I mean, the school district is facing how to close down buildings and how to make things more concise, and we're trying to figure out how to make things expand. It's very interesting.
It is interesting. I'm wondering if there could be a partnership there somehow in the future. It could be something that maybe we want to explore as a region.
Well, I'm on the school board in Harrisville, so I can talk to folks.
Yeah, could be a new innovation that in the Cheshire region likes to come up with. The Monadnock region in general likes to be at the forefront in leading the way on many things. And
Absolutely.
so that could be an interesting discussion, because it is it's really a dichotomy almost, but maybe there's a way to bring it together somehow. Yeah. So we have an expanding population. Can you see any new type of programming potentially that you see seniors may be in need of?
My husband and I talk about this. When our parents retired, they retired to go play golf, to go travel, to do very leisurely things. In our generation, as we're looking at retirement, we're trying to figure out ways that we can continue working. Mm-hmm. And it's not so much that we want to work, or our generation wants to work nonstop, but we want to be able to have income over and beyond what we may have saved, what our investments might be like, what Social Security might provide. And so I think the expanding opportunities for seniors to work in the part-time job market to work at starting their own small businesses. I think that's going to be a very important thing for the future. The Small Business Administration from Concord is coming down in a few weeks and doing a workshop. And I think for people wanting to start small businesses. And I really think it's a way to go. I mean, if for some reason somebody is not employable or hireable because of age or because of lack of skills, then it may very well be the best opportunity for them to start their own business, you know, to do whatever they know how to do well and like doing. And I think it's going to be important. We're a very healthy generation, too. I mean, you know, I look at my peers, and we're still doing all the same things we did when we were 40. And so I think there's a lot of potential there.
Wow, that could be exciting too when you think about, you know, the economic development piece, and we talk about that so much because that opportunity, that the challenges associated with the fact that we, you know, people view the aging population as that retired population,
Yeah.
and really almost reversing that norm and really thinking about how they can be ongoing contributing members to the economic well-being of a community.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
And it sounds like there's real potential there, and that you're beginning to look at that and see how you can bring in the resources to begin to help people think about how they can tap into that.
Right.
It's exciting that the Small Business Administration's coming down
Right.
and talking with the group. I'm curious, Peggy, you mentioned a couple of times that you have 50-year-olds up.
Yeah.
You also have interns that are younger
Yeah.
and volunteers that are younger. But if a person in that 50 and up population wanted to reach out to you, how would they go about really doing that? You know, how would they find out? How do you become a member? Where do they call, or is there a website they visit?
Our phone number is probably the easiest way of reaching us between 8:30 and 4:30 in the afternoon. We are 352-5037. We do have a website, thekeenSeniorCenter.org, and you have to put in the THE. Apparently there's another Keene Senior Center somewhere.
Probably Keene, New York.
Most likely. And also, we are very fortunate in the local print media lists our information on a weekly basis. Both the Keene Sentinel and the Keene Chopper run what we send them, and that's very good. The radio station will list our events and talk about our events. And we just yesterday had our premiere full-page ad in the Keene Sentinel, which is sponsored by 11 different advertisers, and that's going to run on a monthly basis. To let people know who may or may not be reading the senior page or may not be calling the senior center, to give information about what we're doing. The Keene Sentinel has been particularly supportive. They are, not only are we, of course we're paying for the ad on the full page ad, but also they are printing our newsletter with the same advertisers in it. We're doing it on a monthly basis rather than on a bi-monthly basis. And I think we'll have a very good product. We had been producing a newsletter through an independent company somewhere in Michigan, and it was adequate, but it just needed a big jump start. So when we ran out of that contract, we contacted the local people and local advertisers, local people.
Now, are you, you've talked about the social isolation, and lots of times people may still have family members, but they may not be in the area. Do you work at all with the seniors on how to connect, via Skyping or other ways to connect with their family members?
We have a volunteer, Roger Bienview. He comes into the center twice a week, mornings, Wednesdays and Fridays, I believe, and he works with all kinds of technical equipment. In his pre-retirement life, he had worked for IBM, and he's very technical, very savvy, and very fun to work with. So he has a steady stream of customers that come by with their laptops and etc. One woman put her computer in the basket of her walker and walked it down Main Street to the center to have him work on it.
Very nice.
So we had that help. We also, there's a new media librarian at the Keene Public Library, and she's going to come in and do a workshop on those gadgets. The Kindles, the iPhones, the tablets, all those pieces that are so popular today.
So how to text, tweet, and
All that stuff.
Facebook, and
all that stuff. If you
Skype.
want it, if you want it, and that's the other message I want to send too is that not everybody has to have all of that technical equipment at their fingertips and ready to use. We don't have to have it. It's okay not to. It's okay to just pick up the phone and use it.
Mm-hmm.
Or write a letter.
Definitely. Now, does the center have those technological resources at hand there, or are people bringing those in?
We have limited computers ourselves, although we've upgraded a little bit. But people are going to have to bring their own equipment in. When I show off an iPhone, I have to use my own. But it's so what happens usually is that a younger person gives an older person a piece of technical equipment thinking they're doing them a favor. And sometimes it's not, it's not a favor. A Kindle is fine, it might work well on an airplane, but for the rest of life, it's may or may not be as good for you as just simply reading a book.
Right, right. Well, I think we forget that generation gap in the technology piece a little bit. But at the same time, I'm watching my neighbor who's turning 90 this year, and she comes for weekly dinner with us, and she's texting, and
good for her.
She's got her phone, and she's got her grandchildren all on the phone,
Yeah.
pictures of them, and she's really utilizing it to
Yeah.
communicate with her family that's in Arizona and
Yeah.
Tennessee.
And for some people, that works out just great. But if you're older and you didn't use computers in your work life, and the internet didn't come out until 1995,
Right.
which is really just a little short while ago, if you didn't have those skills when you were in your work life and when you were younger, oftentimes trying to learn those can be really daunting. And like my message is that if you want to use it, great. It's wonderful. If you don't want to use it, it's not the end of the world.
So if you had to send a message out to seniors or perhaps family members who have a senior member in their family, what would the message be to the community about the senior center and it being a resource?
I would say that not to wait too long before you contact us, or actually any of the senior serving facilities. If you wait until it becomes a real issue to get up the steps or to walk up the ramp, it's going to be a problem. But if you can look to the future and say, I want to make sure that I have a place to go or I have a plan for the future, I need to do it now and not to wait. We have a board member who is a development person for one of the local assisted living places. And he says, if people wait until they have are so ill or so frail that they can't participate in these fun things to do, they're really shutting themselves out. So I think planning ahead and thinking about the future and what what activities are going to be important for you, I think that's really, I think that's really critical.
You mentioned that your median age is about 79, I
Yeah,
think you
yeah.
said, but that you have folks that could be as young as 50.
Oh, we do. Yeah.
And I think, you know, there's a certain stigma attached to thinking of yourself as a senior citizen. And
Right.
I can say that because I will admit I'm over 50. But, you know, I think that folks don't think that. You know, who wants to think that I'm getting old? Or so there's that little bit of a stigma attached.
There
And
is.
how do people get past that to
I-
really utilize this as a
That's my
resource?
toughest marketing issue. It really is. And I myself was, well, like I said, I was retired for a year. Somebody suggested I go to the senior center for an art class. And I said, no way. No way am I going to the senior center for an art class. And so, I mean, I had that same idea. I think probably just continually to talk about the programming that we have will be great. There are senior facilities that change their names. The Gathering Place, the Place to Be. I don't know. I don't know if it's important that we change our name. I don't think so. I think senior center is rather a brand, rather like the YMCA, the elementary schools. It's what we're known for being. And as senior centers across the country, and there are a lot of senior centers, are offering richer and richer programming for this growing population, I think the stigma will change. I mean, I think the effort will change.
And I think we as citizens can really redefine that because, you know, you're talking about people that are 50 and up.
Yeah.
And the vibrancy, the ability to still contribute from an economic,
Absolutely.
educational standpoint,
Yeah.
peer mentoring, role modeling, all of those
Right.
good things that the seniors can bring to this younger generation and
Absolutely.
to our economy and our educational systems and things. So, you know, really, I think it's about all of us. I would say that to those of you that are watching tonight, a way to think a little bit differently about the role of seniors in our community and in our lives. That this is a chance for you to be part of beginning to make that leap into they are long-term contributing members of society. And you know, I think sometimes we think you hit those senior years and you're out on the golf course, and that isn't our senior generation anymore. It's really a generation that continues to be involved. And when you think about this show, we talk about volunteering, advocating, you know, giving, and they're part of that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I think successful seniors, so to speak, really have a very varied life. I mean, they have a family life. They're paying attention to their health. They're aware of what their finances are, and they're in control of them. And they're definitely giving back to the community.
And, you know, my neighbor that I mentioned that comes for dinner with us each week, she continues to work as a nurse in elementary schools in our area. And she will be turning 90. And, you know, I look at her and I say, you know, she's not a senior citizen. She is a person who is just continued living her life to the fullest.
Absolutely.
And, you know, she works, she plays, she canoes the Connecticut River and kayaks it.
Whoa.
And like you said, you know, she's really taking care of herself, but and she is probably on more boards, volunteering her time. I see her leave at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I see her come home at 11 o'clock at night.
That's great. She's going to live to be 110, for sure, for sure.
And she goes to college.
Wow.
She takes courses so that she can always keep up with the changes that are going on out there. I look up to her and I say, that's the kind of person I want to be.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, when I move into my very, very senior years. So.
And there are lots of people like that out there. You know, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
I have a mother-in-law like that. She's a shining star. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got to continue to value what every individual can contribute. Sounds like you have some needs. People can bring things by. Do you want to share once again where your location is, and for those that may not be familiar with
Yeah.
where the facility is, and how to contact you?
Right. We're at 70 Court Street. The building is on the left-hand side of the street, just past Summer Street. It is a big brick building with green shutters. The shutters are being repainted, so some of them aren't up there right now. And our parking lot is right there in front of the building. If you need to park on the street, there is 2-hour parking, and if you become a member, we give you a little ticket to give you some privilege in parking. If you want to go on our website, it's the Keene Senior Center, and we list as much as we possibly can cram onto that little website as to what we do.
Now, I do think there's one other thing that you're involved with, which is organizing trips for some of the seniors.
Oh, yeah.
Can you share what the upcoming trip is?
Well, that means I have to pay attention. I know we have a trip to Nantucket that is full. It was a daffodil trip. And we have a trip to a Red Sox game. And and I think we have one going to Baltimore, a Gettysburg trip. What we do is that we work with private companies. They organize the trips, we promote them, and we receive a cot or a seat in the bus, something like that. It's not a big revenue generator for us. But it is a service to the community, and it's for everyone in the community. It's not limited to seniors, and everybody takes advantage of it. We do overseas trips. They're not as popular, of course, but we do trips, within the United States. We're trying to do more and more one-dayers. A trip to Boston, to Maine, that kind of thing, where you leave early in the morning and back early evening.
Very nice. Well, so providing some really great services, meeting that need around social isolation, and just giving people that sense of belonging and feeling good, and also providing that some good nutrition, some good educational pieces, fitness, all those great things. I want to thank you for joining us, Peg. Doing some valuable work out there through the Keene Senior Center. Appreciate your leadership for the organization, and that we can continue to support both the Keene Senior Center, and that you, our folks out there in the community, this is the kind of thing that you're giving to, that you're volunteering for, and that you can advocate for. And I want to remind you that that's all part of Living United. Want to thank you for joining us tonight. Wish you well, and have a great week.